Hey guys, it's Brijette and welcome to the Kellogg Garden YouTube channel. Today, I'm gonna show you here on our urban farm how we save our seeds. So we're gonna talk a lot about tomatoes because, well, it's September, we've got tons of tomatoes, and tomatoes are one of the easiest crops to save seed from. So what makes them so easy? Well, first of all, it's really easy to know where the seeds are. So they're inside this juicy, delicious tomato. And also, modern tomatoes don't cross-pollinate very easily. And that's actually because, let's see if we can find a flower here. Modern flower tomatoes actually don't have the ability, their middle part here is actually recessed inside the flower, if you can see that. And so it's not as easy for cross-pollination to happen. And now, another thing to think of is, do you even really care? The reason why I mention that is some of the coolest tomato varieties have happened from accidental crossing. We love different shapes and colors and flavors of tomatoes, and so when you're saving the seed on your farm or you're in your garden, I don't think you should worry too much about that because you might come up with a new creation that you really love. So, something to consider. So we've got this amazing tomato here, and it's pretty soft. It is almost a little bit past its eating stage, and that's actually how you want it. And that's because we want to replicate what happens in nature. So typically the tomato overripens, it falls down onto the ground, it rots, and that's actually what dissolves that little slippery gelatinous sac that's around your seeds. That's actually a germination inhibitor. And that's because inside the tomato, it's moist and it's warm. That's the perfect temperature to germinate, right? Well, how does nature stop that from happening? It puts that little gelatinous sac around the seed. Your job as a seed saver is to try to get that little sac off, and you do that by fermenting. So let's go take a look on how we do that. So we're here in our greenhouse, and in the fall, the greenhouse pretty much just becomes a place where we process and dry out our seeds. So I actually have, this is the Great King of Siberia, and I actually have some of this fermenting here. This is probably gonna be real yucky. Yep, there it is. And basically what I've done is I have cut the tomato open, squeezed out the inside, and put it inside this very stinky mix. So we're gonna cut this open. Seeds are here. Basically, they get squeezed. Everything goes in there. It's okay if some of this excess stuff, this doesn't have any seeds on it, so I might just feed that to the chickens just as a little treat. Now this has been fermenting for about 3 days, and so it's ready. It's got a nice, stinky, fermenting kind of look to it, and by doing it that way, you also separate the seeds from the actual tomatoes. Now it's important to note, when you ferment your tomatoes, you don't add any water. You literally let them ferment in their own juice just as they would in nature. After about 3 days, they're finished, and so you can use water to separate them. Now, why am I adding all this water? Well, I like using this spray because it's gonna knock any seeds that are clinging to the tomatoes off. And it's just gonna agitate the water quite a bit and allow for the seeds to sink to the bottom. An amazing thing about seeds is that when their embryo is fully formed, they're very heavy. And so they're gonna sink to the bottom down here. Whereas seeds that do not have an embryo are like light little boats, and they're gonna float to the top. And so by agitating them and really separating them from the tomato matter, they're gonna sink to the bottom. So I'm gonna use this little tool here to kind of just get some of the big chunks. So again, I'm not getting any tomato seeds in here because they're all sitting at the bottom, but what I am doing is picking up rotten tomato parts here. If you do this in a mason jar, it's very easy for you to see after a few days. All the tomato parts will be on the top floating, and then sitting at the bottom is going to be the seeds, which is really incredible. So you can see there's no seeds in there. Maybe one or two, but those are not good, so we don't want them anyways. So I'm just gonna strain all this out, get the worst of it out. And now we're gonna do what's called decanting. And it's basically where I just pour off the water, and sitting at the bottom is gonna be the seeds. And look at that! Da-da-da. I always get nervous right before the end, like, oh no, did I pour them all off? But they're always there. There we have them. So those are the seeds that have been fermented, and we do that to take off the gelatinous sac that's around them. And it also helps with seed-borne diseases. So you have better quality of seed when you ferment them, just like nature does. Next, these seeds go over here and they get dried. So I've actually got seeds here that are drying, and it's a very simple thing. I've got these guys on just screen material, and I just put this fan over them, and it's very hot in the greenhouse, which is great. So I'm just gonna let this run. And it's so important that your seeds are completely dry. If they have any moisture left on them when you put them in your container of choice, then guess what? They're gonna mold. So make sure they're completely dry. The way we do that is we run this fan on them for anywhere for 3 to 4 days until they really feel dry. And then we put them in jars with desiccant packs that suck out any additional moisture. If you don't do that, I promise you, you will be sorry. They'll mold up, you'll open them next season, and all your work will have gone to waste. So make sure you dry them. Let's talk about how you store your seeds. So you wanna make sure you store your seeds out of direct sunlight, so not in the greenhouse, not outside, not in a shed. I don't even recommend you store them in the garage, because the garage gets very hot and very cold. You wanna store them inside in a cool, dark place, and your seeds will last a whole lot longer. So why do you wanna save your garden seed? Well, it's really fun. It's a great way to be connected to nature, good way to save a little bit of cash, and you know, it's just a really neat process. So if you wanna save your tomato seeds, that's how you do it. Coming from me, a professional seed saver, you're gonna get the best quality seeds if you ferment them.